Welcome back to the shed. So, upon inspecting this thing, it's just going to get a good sanding out of me, and there's like chunks of paint that are coming off of it, like that. Sand it smooth. I'm going to hit it with a coat of satin black. This is an old flat black lacquer, if I had to guess. I don't know. It's really unsmooth. I'm hoping that by trying to sand this stuff down to smooth in areas, that when I hit it with the paint, it smooths out a little bit. I'm not going to bore you with an hour of me running the sander on this thing, but I'll give you an idea of what it is I'm doing. And then just run it until it's smooth as best as I can. Some of these little nooks and crannies and some of these welds that look, these are horrible welds. Whoever did the welding on this thing, I mean, it's better welding than I can do because I don't have a welder. Mosquitoes, man. But yeah, they're not pretty welds. Anyway, I'll catch back up with you, when I'm done with that. All right, and actually, I'm going to get my grinder out and try to clean some of this up a little bit, the spatter. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get it all the way down into some of those little cracks, but it's ugly underneath there too. I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit. Alright, now just like that, I don't know why it is, I never have to clear my throat until I turn my camera on. Maybe it's because I'm not speaking. Anyway, this is what I went with here. Satin black Krylon Fusion paint and primer in one. You can see where I, a little bit of touch-up work up there with the grinder. It didn't turn out perfect, but it turned out alright. But the next thing that I've got to do, well, I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to set that up and let it dry for a few days, which is why I went ahead and painted that before I got to the motor. But what I got going on over here, the wheels, sorry, hit the wrong button. Alright, these have been soaking in a gallon of LA's Totally Awesome. You can see how it makes the paint bubble. That's what I was speaking about with doing to the frame, but I don't have anything big enough to soak the whole frame in. So there's one half. The reason I'm using pliers is because this stuff will eat the skin right off your fingers if you're not careful. Like, I don't know how well it'll eat the skin off of them, but it'll dry them out. So I'm going to spray those with the hose here in just a second and see whether or not I got to put them back into that goo. We're going to find out. got green paint underneath. Looks like I'm gonna end up having to put these things right back into the sauce to keep soaking the paint. It's a process. If I really wanted to, I could actually take them in the house and wash them in the sink. But that makes a mess, and I'm not trying to make that big of a mess out of my inside of my house at the moment. You can see it literally just washes away. Probably gonna end up letting these things soak overnight. Spray them off again in the morning. Getting close, but not quite. So right back into the bucket it goes. All right, so now it's on to the motor. Ideally, a crescent wrench isn't the best idea to drain the oil, but I can tell you that somebody had a pair of channel locks. Let's see if I can't maybe touch that up a little bit. Somebody put a pair of channel locks on there. This thing is no longer square. It doesn't fit any of my regular sized wrenches, either American or metric. Let's see. Drain plug on the other side as well if I can't get this one to come out. But oh, that shit is fucking chunky. That oil's probably older than I am, to be honest with you. Doesn't appear there's hardly any in it either. Oh, just chunks of oil. That stuff is, this oil's blacker than my heart. Whoa. I just set this guy down here. Oh, there you go. Just pee it in the bucket. We'll let that drain for a while. God only knows the last time the oil in this motor was changed. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to have to refill it with a quart, or not a quart. I'm going to have to go buy a quart, though, of this thing probably only takes a half a quart. I don't have the actual number there. And I'm going to have to look it up to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take a 30 weight non-detergent oil, like a lot of these 4-cycle motors do. I'm going to see if, you can see how. You can tell somebody had channel lock pliers on there at some point. Might be able to get a new drain plug, otherwise it's not really going to make that big of a difference. But, like, just the... Now, I really hope that that is not... I hope that's just oxidation off this aluminum plug and not bearings. Anyway, I'm going to let that thing keep peeing in the bucket for a while. Can't forget about my assistant, Junkyard Kitty. It's actually Bitch Kitty, if you know her. Anyway, now that I've let that drain, drip, 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 I'm going to have to, excuse me, fill this thing with oil, let it run for a couple of minutes, and drain it again once I get it back on the bike, because I don't want to let it run. Well, I might be able to attach it to the bench, but I don't know if I'm going to get that far into it. Now I'm going to see if I can get this clutch off of here. Hopefully with the amount of oil that's been leaking out of this engine, that the clutch will come right off. I got to go grab my ratchet off the front porch I had it yesterday because I got the go-kart fixed and I was working on it as I was riding it. But I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so in order to keep this motor from free spinning, I don't know if this has a left or a right hand thread, but I'm going to find out. In order to keep this thing from free spinning, I'm literally just going to drive a bolt in there, and it's going to catch the blade on the flywheel, and it'll keep the motor from turning over while I attempt to remove the clutch. I might need a puller. Of course, it's always the what the hell? There we go. So, anyway, run that in. Make sure your ratchet's going the right way, of course. Now, motor won't turn over. Yeah. And it answers that question as to whether that's a left or a right hand thread. Come on, baby. Oh, look at that. I didn't even need a puller. Make sure that I don't lose the key. You lose one of those and you're screwed. That's called the key. That's what keeps this on the shaft. That little piece right there. When I was little, I had a quarter midget, and we lost that little piece, and it kept us from riding it for a long time. But dude, how meant is that? I've never in my life seen a clutch come off like that. I thought I was going to literally have to fail at this, and then go get one from the, or go get a puller, I should say. Well, although it appears there is, these are, I'll find out whether or not oil comes out of those once I get this cover off of here. That's for the little clutch bracket. There is some old seepage on this crankshaft seal here, but it doesn't appear to be leaking there. It appears to be leaking down here, which is a good thing. Alright, let me see if I can get... Oh, wrong direction. Learning as I'm going, folks. Learning as I'm going. And I'll find out whether or not this actually, that may be part of where the oil leak was coming from. Yeah, that goes right on inside of there. Shit. So this one being loose, that's definitely a source of oil leaking. I'll put that bolt back in the hole it came out of. So, puking oil there. Here's all the rest of these bolts are the same size, tiny. Yeah, that goes right inside of the case. So that's why it was leaking, there at least. Right over there. I'm actually going to take these brackets. When the camera's off, remember the gasoline I drained out of the gas tank? All the greasy nuts and bolts are in it in a can over there. Those are going to end up going in there. Soak some of that grease off. Works good enough for me. see what the inside of this motor looks like once I get this case off here. Provided it just cooperates and separates, although I cannot guarantee. Damn it! There's my air conditioning. I'll catch up with you in a minute. Alright, welcome back. So, upon getting down here, these 3 bolts weren't even hand tight. So I went ahead and put the other bolts back in because there's no reason, I don't think it's going to leak. I mean, if it does, it's going to be considerably less. These bolts had more than likely vibrated themselves loose. So, I mean, there's a win. I don't have to take that off and deal with the cam gears and all that other bullshit. That technically I should be doing it from the other side, taking the flywheel off first, but these things are kind of they're basic, but they become a pain in the ass at times. But so, shot her up with some brake clean, wiped her on down. I can tell that there's an original white finish underneath of this. I'm on the fence as to what I want to do about that. Whether I take off the carburetor, take off the muffler, tape those holes up, spray this thing down with degreaser, and hope that this same black paint that's theoretically coming off of the wheels will come off of this case and leave that original white or kind of a creamish color. I don't have the answer as to what I'm going to do there yet, but for now I at least have cleaned it up a little bit so that everything is dry, and I can see, once I get this thing back on the bike, I can see whether or not there's still dirt. And probably need to go over this thing with a toothbrush a little bit because it's all full of sand, but I haven't decided because this is the original color of that motor. You can see it on here. I can't tell, well, maybe a little bit there on the head. We'll find out. The next little thing to do here, I'm going to take this carburetor off and I'm going to take it apart and see if there's anything evident on the inside there that's causing the thing to not run very well. I'm going to have to use a wrench on that. I don't know if I feel like getting into this today, or perhaps I come back to this tomorrow afternoon. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to turn this off though and figure that out. Alright, so I lied. I did just take the spark plug out, and I do have plans of getting a new spark plug, but the one that's in it really doesn't look that bad. Just like everything else that I've taken off of this thing, it's relatively decent shape. Appears to hardly have ever been used. Figure out that piece of linkage, how that works. Figure it out. I do have a brand new carburetor. Depending on what the inside of this one looks like, we'll decide whether or not I put the new carburetor on this thing or not. Alright, see, so there you have just a basic carburetor. Got a one or the other of those is a high adjustment. The bottom is a low adjustment. I've had this thing apart once. This is the bowl of the carburetor itself. So there's a little bit of gas in it. But there's still, I just cleaned this out and it's still got nasty shit. That's probably why it's not running. I'm actually going to I'm going to go ahead and put the new carburetor on this thing, and those of you who've been around for a while who know who Ricky is, I'm going to let Ricky work his magic on these on this carburetor, because he actually serves a purpose for something other than drinking beer and peeing in your yard. He's actually quite handy with this kind of shit. So got a little piece of linkage right off of there. Brand new carburetor. Oh, I should be wearing gloves, but I don't have any due to a coronavirus shortage on gloves. I don't have any at the current time. Now, this little paper gasket right over here still looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to reuse that. Let's see. Alright, that linkage. I'll put that back on when it goes back on. Hopefully my arm is not blocking the view of this. It'd be nice if there was a way to get a ratchet on this, but much like everything else with this, it's old and you have to be patient. Let me figure that elbow out, see if it moves or not, because that's not a good angle. The one that was on the old one is plastic, that one is aluminum. I need it to go up and down in theory, not side to side. Come on. Good as new. There's your choke. There's your throttle. Looks good to me. Alright. That's it for this minute. Wait, what? Yep. There's me. It's about 4 o'clock. Been dicking around with that mini bike all day. Just had to make a run to the parts store. Got a new spark plug. Got some more carburetor cleaner. New fuel line for it. Some oil. Excuse me. I need to eat something, so that's going to be the video for today. Potentially tomorrow afternoon, weather permitting. It's supposed to rain the next few days. I'll get around to I still got to do handlebars. I can't get that grip off of the handlebars, so I'm going to mask that off, sand it like I did the frame, and paint them. I still got to finish scraping the paint off of that wheel. Well, spraying it, whatever. I'll probably end up getting a brush out tomorrow. And just, but that's it for today's video. Hope everybody had a good Labor Day. I'm having some computer troubles at the moment, so this stuff's being filmed on my phone. I've got loads of footage from the races that I live streamed over the weekend that I shot with my GoPro, but I can't get it to process. So that'll have to wait a little while. I'll see if I can't figure out how to load it onto my phone and process it with the program I use on my phone. Because it literally just keeps crashing the computer. But it's coming eventually. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 3.